Whoa, what are we reading? And I thought, when I saw this as the lectionary reading, I thought, oh, there's a lot in that. There's a lot in that. What are we going to preach about? And I thought, well, let's have a look and take it step by step. So we have a closer examination of what's in that reading. First of all, we've got Nicodemus. Nicodemus is a Pharisee. He's the one who's kept all the laws, all the 600 plus laws, the written ones and the oral ones. All the laws. He thinks he's a very godly, upright person. He is a Pharisee. And there is no room for pragmatism. It is as it is set down. That is his faith. That is what he believes in. So what's he doing? Creeping around in the night to come and see Jesus. He seems like a young revolutionary, not a Jewish leader who's trying to keep the peace with the Romans. He is, in fact, curious about Jesus. He wants to know about these miracles he's heard about, and he has his speech already rehearsed. Rabbi, we know you're a teacher sent by God, and God must be with you to perform these miracles. And there we have it. It's a sort of pat on the back. You know, they're there. You're doing a really good job, and I'm an expert, and I should know. But Jesus wrong-foots him. Jesus knows exactly what Nicodemus is about. How would you know, he says. Nicodemus wants to get back on track. He wants to talk about Jesus, to have a discussion, to find out how he does these miracles. But Jesus won't let him. He says that the activity of God cannot be confined to a checklist, a set of rules. You must be prepared to start again, to be born from above, not to be born again like a human. So Nicodemus sort of says, well, how can I be born again? No, it's not like that. You must be born from above. That's how the Greek translates. And Nicodemus does believe that God is love to some extent, but that it's measured, sensible, and it follows a set of rules. No, says Jesus. The wind, think of the wind blowing where it will. Why does he use this word wind? Because it also means spirit in the Hebrew and the Greek. The Hebrew is ruach. I don't know whether I've pronounced it properly. I've just had a new plate put in, so perhaps I can do it even better, because I know I'm lisping a little bit. Ruach. And the Greek is pneuma, with a P on the beginning, rather like pneumatic, to do with breathing and the lungs and that kind of thing. So do with air. Okay, so the wind blows where it will, and so does the Spirit. God's Spirit blows wherever. It is unpredictable and it is generous. So unlike what Nicodemus has thought about and believes in his life. Jesus says Nicodemus needs to tear up his rule book. Jesus isn't going to fill out the proper forms and say, this is why I do this, that, and the other. And as one theologian wrote, he needs to launch out into the unfathomable reality of the totality of God's love. God does not love when we meet the criteria. He just loves. Love for everybody. And trying to measure his love is like trying to control the wind. And you know, we've had a lot of wind lately. April was full of wind, so I mean, it was like March, wasn't it? But the reading didn't stop there. We then had John putting in his own thoughts, as he does through all of his gospel. He thinks, oh, hang on, I'll put that in. And we have a thought about Jesus being lifted up, and that refers way back to an incident, and we read it in the book of Numbers, chapter 21. And the people of Israel were out in the wilderness with Moses, and they were dying because they'd been bitten by snakes. And God said to Moses, well, make a bronze snake and lift it high up, and as people look upon this snake, their snake bites will be cured. Why this curious story? Well, because there's a parallel. Jesus will be lifted up high on the cross, and he will save people from death. He will be their saviour, saving all humankind. And in fact, the idea of a serpent comes in through John's Gospel. It's part of John's theology. And then we have that wonderful, wonderful verse that I'm sure you can repeat, but I expect you can repeat it in the St. James version, the authorised version, yeah? Do you want to have a go? I'll help you a little bit. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, hold on for a minute, Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have, hold on. I tried this morning and it was perfect. Have everlasting, wait a minute, we're getting there. Life. Oh, now the good bit. If I can do it. Here we are.
Oh, very good.
And what do you see? Don't worry, it wasn't an original idea. I pinched it from somebody. What do we see? We see the essence of the gospel, that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not die. That's why I can't take it in anything but the authorised version, but have eternal, everlasting life. There we are, the gospel. And that wonderful verse, John 3:16, is something to hold on to always. And this is it. God so loved the world. God will do anything for the world he loves. And our every response must be informed by that love. And if we go back to Paul's letter, the reading we saw on the screen, he argues that we must be led by God's Spirit as God's children. We no longer are confined by a dutiful, fearful obedience to God to live a good or godly life, but can be filled with vitality and exuberance of God's love, and in turn share that love with all around us. God's love is not confined. We must follow his example. God's love for all. Isn't that a wonderful message?